Welcome to Java in programming series at VIT. This is session 7. Topic is constructors. Myself, Dr. Yashwant Dongre. Today we are going to cover contents like rules for creating Java constructors, type of Java constructors, constructor overloading. This is very important concept and interview point of view. This is very important topic. Difference between constructor and method in Java, this keyword and garbage collector. Constructor. A constructor is a special method that is used to a constructor is a Java method that is used to initialize objects. The constructor is called when object of class is created. It can be used to set initial value or object attributes. Constructor name must be same as its class name. Constructor must have no explicit return type, and Java constructor can be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. Very important symbol to differentiate constructor than other methods is constructor does not have any return type, even hide also. So that no need to write return type in front of constructor. Rule for creating constructor. Constructor name must be same as its class name. Constructor must have no explicit return type, and Java constructor cannot be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. Out of that, first rule is very important. While creating constructor, we must take care of constructor name must be similar to class name. Second rule is its return type. There should not be return type. And third is it should not be abstract, static, final, and synchronous. These are the types of constructors. There are two types of constructor in Java. First is default constructor. Then second is no argument constructor. Third is parameterized constructor. Out of that, default constructor you no need to define. It is automatically created at the time of execution. You just have to call that constructor at the time of creating object. So that remaining two are actual constructor. In that you can have your own constructor with no argument, and other is parameterized constructor. Remaining two and third are you need to create explicitly. Then default constructor is called default constructor when it does not have any parameter. Constructor is called default constructor when it does not have any parameter. Every time an object is created using new keyword, at least one constructor is called. At the time of creating object, at least from available list of constructor, anyone you need to use. Either you use default constructor. Default constructor is always class name with a bracket, so that it calls default constructor if there is no constructor available in the class. In a such case, Java compiler provide default constructor for creating object by default. Syntax for default constructor is as follows, so that class name, bracket, and empty bracket. Even if you don't create it, it will be provided by the compiler by default at the time of compilation of program. Default constructor example is like, for example, class is student, student name id, sorry, integer id, string name, two parameter, two integer two instance variable are there. So that public static void main method is returned. So that new student is a default constructor. You didn't declare anywhere that this constructor's new student. So that this new student will get called. Even if you declare inside it new student constructor, this will work similarly. So that let us have check default constructor how it works. Go to the Eclipse. Till the time Eclipse start, we will have some. Even using default constructor also, you may initialize some values, uh, give some starter messages, initialization messages like it. Let us have closer look at it. So that create a simple program. Constructor demo class we will declare, or even in example student is given, so that we will may do experiment on student. Not students. Finish. So that instance variable are available like integer id, then string name, these are available. So that here in a main we can have just like students, yes, equal to new students. So that this portion is called as calling constructor, calling the constructor or using the constructor. This is a constructor. How to know constructor? Constructor name is similar to class name. See, class name is students. This is a, so that let us have, see, try to use yes dot in system out println, use this yes dot id. Let us have print this. Zero. We are providing 0 because in a constructor we do nothing. We do nothing. So that instead of it, because this constructor is provided by default compiler. So that let us have constructor with a public void nahi chalega, this will not work, public, so that students, this we can write, and this is default. If you do not write this, this will also work. So that let us see, even we write this, what will happen? Nothing, there is nothing. So that we can have system out println system out println, so that in default constructor, so that If this line will get print, we will understand that this constructor is working. So that run this. See, when we are not writing this, then also this part is working. If we write this section, means your interpreter is going through this portion if you call this method, but this do not have any return type, these do not have any. So that we may have some assignment here, so that id equal to default it is 0, so that we may assign id is 20. Id is 20. Let us check if output is 20, means any after declaration of variable, till the using that variable, your process is going through the default constructor, and then if any constructor is written explicitly, your execution is going through that explicit constructor. Means if you are calling this, your execution is going through this. So that so that more than this we have seen in a Eclipse Java program. So that no argument constructor, if constructor does not accept any parameter, it is known as a no argument constructor. So that if you remember our previous program, there is no argument we are passing. By using the no argument constructor, you can initialize the class data members and perform various activities that you want to obtain creation. If we create a constructor with no arguments, the compiler does not create default constructor. It is taken out. It is being overloaded and called a parameter constructor. No argument constructors example, again student with id name, system out println id is name, and even if you call this will be the, this is also we have seen. If you have this constructor, but normal default practice, standard practice is to keep always constructor as a public constructor, so that public student is this will already we have. Then second type of constructor is parameterized constructor. A constructor which has specific number of parameters is called parameterized constructor. If you want to initialize field of a class with our own values, then use parameterized constructor. Why use the parameterized constructor? The parameterized constructor is used to provide different values to distinct objects. However, you can provide the same values also. The default constructor changes into parameterized constructor, but parameterized constructor cannot be changed the default constructor. See, for example, student id name, student integer id, student with parameter integer I and string name, so that at the time of a calling you can provide its id and name, and it will get assigned for further use. So that in while display system out println, like I print id and print name. Then public static void main, student s1 will be with a roll number 1 and name is Isha, and 2 will be like we will have current, so that you try to display s1 and s2, so that of course its value will be different. So that check what will happen. We will take a parameterized constructor, and then we will use it, and accordingly we will call the display method, and in display method we will see instance variable, value of id and value of name for both the instances are different. Let us have this example. So that this id name instance variables, so that integer I and string name, two parameters we will take, so that, and then we will display I plus n. Let us have, we will print the things, so that for creating object s1 we will be use, for example, roll number 1, or say this name is Yashwant. Again we will have some another variable, this will be a s2, this is 2, and name is, for say, abc. So that then call this method, sorry, for a display we may have public void display method, we can print system dot out dot ln, and this printing will be for I plus combination of this thing and plus n, roll number name pair we will display, but this will be with s1 dot so that in a display, let us look, see, uh, in a constructor we are taking values and assigning it to the instance variable and instance name, and in display simply we are printing this instance variable id and name. Okay, sorry, okay, not I and n. We will display this id and this is a name, because we want to see reflection of instances on the instance variable, object instance on instance variable, so that here also assignments are like id equal to I and name equal to name n will happen simply. Then you just call s1 dot display and s2 dot display, that's it. See, when we call s1 dot display, this will be a, this will go, this will be, this is printing 1 and h1. Then what is constructor overloading? This is exactly similar to method overloading. Difference is only here we are using constructor for overloading. Constructor overloading is a technique of having more than one constructor with a different parameter list. They are arranged in a way that each constructor performs different tasks. They are differentiated by the compiler by the number of parameters in list and their types. Constructor overloading example, for example, student default constructor, then constructor with 2 parameter, then constructor with 3 parameter, and then we will use display, so that instead of having single constructor in a class, we will have more than one constructor with a different parameter list. This is called as overloading, so that these public students, here we can mention there is no parameter, so that no need to, here just we will give message like no arguments. This constructor. Then if it is a 2 parameter constructor, we can have one more variable like integer age, so that 2 parameter constructor we will give message like this is a constructor with parameter 2. Here we can give message like const, then 2 argument in this constructor, 2 arguments in this constructor, so that we may have one more constructor like we have assign integer age also. Let us have use that age equal to simple a we will use, so that age equal to a. Here we will give message as 3 argument constructor. There are 3 arguments. So that accordingly particular constructor will get called, so that initially, so that student with no constructor, then student with 2 constructor, then student with 3 constructor, age is 30 for example, and let us have displayed, so that, and also we will display plus pair of plus age. Let us run this. Let us have S1, okay, S1, S2, we may have third instance. First instance of student is S1, which calls no parameterized constructor for creating S1 object. Then second is with 2 parameters with 2 constructors. two parameter constructor, and third is so that according to the number of parameters particular constructor will get called. This concept is called as constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. See, so that first no argument in this constructor means first constructor is get called. In second, for s2, while creating s2, two parameterized constructor means two argument constructor is called, this one. And third time, in third line of calling, so that three arguments in this constructor means this constructor is get called. So that for first one there is no instance variable assignment happen. Then roll number 1 with h1, then age is not assigned, default age 0 is printed. And in last time we are using a also, so that age passing here, we are passing age is 30 at the time of passing. In main method we are using age 30. So that how constructors are different from methods, there is difference. Java constructor is used to initialize the state of object. Method is used to expose the behavior of an object. So that this is state of object and this is behavior of object. Constructor must not have return type. We don't have any return type for customer. For method it must have. The Java compiler provide default constructor if you don't have any constructor in class. The method is not provided by compiler in any case. For default constructor, compiler provide default signature of that particular constructor if you call default constructor, but there is no concept of such default method, and which will not be provided by the compiler in any situation. The constructor name must be same as the class name. Constructor name must be the same as class name. The method name may or may not be the same as the class name. The constructor is simplicity. The method is implicitly, but it should be explicitly. Constructors are called only once at the time of object creation. Methods can be called any number of times. Any number of time you can call the regular methods. So that importance of this keyword. This keyword is a very important. In the Java, this is reference variable that refer to the current object. In the place of current class object, this will be referred. So that instead of using current class object name, you can use this anywhere in the class. The most common use of this keyword is to eliminate confusion between class attribute and parameter with the same name. So that this reference variable, then state variable, and then behavioral object. Uses of Java this keyword. Here is given the 6 uses of Java this keyword. To refer current class instance variable, first use. Second use is to invoke current class method. Third is to invoke current class constructor. Fourth is to pass an argument in a method call. Then fifth is to pass an argument in the constructor call. And sixth is to return the current class object. These 6 uses are there. so that one refer current class instance variable, so that see the example of first as using reference variable. So that this class we are writing, there are three instance variable we are using. Constructor, here we are passing three parameters in the constructor, and if you see, instance variable and local variable inside the constructor parameter are same. This instance variable roll number and local variable of constructor parameter roll number, this name and this name, this float p as instance variable and float p as a parameter of local parameter of this constructor is same. In this case, if you use like roll number equal to roll number, name equal to name, p equal to p, this will not work. This will not work, even though we will see it by running example. Then display roll number, name, p. What will happen? We will check. Then public class test this public static void main. We will call the constructor over by passing these values in parameter 1 2 3 1 2 parameter we will pass, and then we will check use of this keyword in Java. So that let us have create another class, because every example is meaningful. We cannot override the code. We will have some separate code, so that let us have student 2 main. Let us have some instance variable like integer id, again string name, and again integer feeds. Let us have constructor with public student 2 with parameter like integer id, similar to instance variable string name and integer p again. In this case, whatever values pass here, we have to assign it to the instance variable, so that id equal to id, we can use this name equal to this name, we can write then p equal to p, you can write. Then we can have display method void void display system out dot println id plus name and plus p. These things we will print here, id, name, this. Let us have create object of this class student 2 equal to s2 equal to new student 2 and s2 dot display. So that we will pass here roll number 10 Yashwant and P is 2000, like. So that here we are passing values pass value should reach here, and these values we are assigning to this variable. Let us see what this is displaying. Save it. Oh, null 0 null 0. This means id equal to id is not working. So that what is solution? Very important solution. To recognize this id, you use this, because this is instance variable, and instance variable should be accessed through this, then this, then this. Okay, now this should work correctly. This should show, see, 10 h1 2000. This p we are passing here at the time of calling the constructor. 10 h1 2000 we are passing here. This will reach to these variables. This id is a 10, this name is h1, this p is 2000, but we have to assign these to this variable because we have to use this in display here. So that these are this is this is this. So that values are reached to this, we have to assign to this, but names are similar. So that to recognize this id, you use this dot id, which is a global variable, which is instance variable. Instance variable in the class should be accessed through this. Second, to invoke the current class method. So that example is student class, void method 1, void method 2. Two methods are written. So that method 1 is written, method 2 is written. So that in method 1 we are writing hello method 1, in method 2 we are writing hello method 2. But after this invoking method 2, we have to also invoke the method 1, which is available in parent class. So that to invoke such a method, we can use this. Let us check in example. Create example student 3. Now add this. We have to check simple access of method through this. So that void method 1, simple thing to do, system dot out dot println just write in method 1, then we may have another method, control C, control V, This is method 2, but in the method 2 we have to also call method 1, and this method 1 should be accessed through this dot method 1, this dot method 1. So that create student 3
आईस्क्रीम खूप भारी होतं. मला
students 3
मगाचपासून
yes equal to new students 3, and yes dot we will call method 2. Oh, sorry, this is 3. Oh, this is not student, this is student 3. Okay, so that we are calling method 2, and in method 2 is printed, then this dot method 1 is get called and displaying the output. So that third use is in our current class constructor. Again, in this case, student default constructor have then single parameter constructor is there. In this case, to call default constructor of current class, we can use this, so that public static void main call the create this s1 object with the first parameter, means single parameter or one parameter parameterized constructor we are using, means this constructor student with one parameter constructor will get called, but inside that we want to display message from default constructor. So that single parameter default constructor is there, one parameter constructor is there, but inside it we can call this. If you use a call this, so that this means current class constructor, current class default constructor. Let us go in Eclipse and have check this. per se to this is a default constructor. Here we can say, let us have some another class. Root class, add this. Here go in source, generate constructor. Okay, whatever. We will write it. Click root, no parameter, but this we will say as this is default constructor. Let us have constructor with one parameter, integer weight. This is constructor with one parameter, but at the same time we would like to call default constructor also, so that use this syntax. Let us have yep equal to new let us have here while creating object use something one parameter, so that this constructor will get called, and at the time of calling this constructor, very first this constructor super constructor this no parameter constructor will get called. Let us see the execution. First default constructor will get called, and then constructor with parameter 1 will get called. Also you can current class constructor, inside the same story, current class constructor, so that by passing the parameter to this you can call any constructor. Means this will act as a name of the class, so that in a default constructor you may call some different constructors by passing the value at the time of creating constructor. This is really interesting example, so that here we will call the parameter constructor with one parameter. Means at the time of creating object you are using no parameter constructor, but inside no parameter constructor or default constructor you are calling to the another constructor who have one parameter. Let us have modify the same example. Let us have fruit with default, and in default you may call this with 20, weight is 20, and while calling call the default constructor, but default constructor will call constructor with parameter 1. So that default constructor with parameter 1. This will also work. So that in this case, first this will get called, then this will get called. See, first control goes to the here and then here. Then real use of this constructor call is like if we have example of integer roll number, name, two names are there, name and course, then float fee, then we may have constructor with three parameters, and we are assigning this local value, local parameter values to the instance variable using this dot roll number equal to roll number and so on. And then student with four parameter with like a last parameter, four parameter is a float fee. Then inside that reuse the constructor with this, so that reuse this constructor, because here we are doing assignment to these three variables, then instead of doing rework of assignment, you just call this constructor and assign this remaining parameter, assign this remaining parameter, and display all this, so that while creating, if you call constructor with three parameter, this will not give any fee with detail, fee will be the null. But if you additionally call the parameter constructor with four parameter, this will first call the parameter constructor with three parameter, and additionally will do the task of the assigning fourth variable. This is also interesting example. Let us see how to do this. Here we have, for example, integer weight and string name of fruit, chalega. Then again string color, then fourth parameter is an integer price. But default constructor is not there, but we are using two constructor. First we'll assign first three variables, integer w, comma, string name, comma, string color, no need to display anything, just have now this is this dot w and then equal to w, so that this dot w equal to w, this dot fruit name equal to name, this dot color equal to color. These three variables are related to this. Now if we are dealing with constructor with four parameter, whereas last parameter is price, in this case don't assign all these variables. Instead of it, use this and this with all weight name color, this with weight, name and color. Okay, these three variable will get assigned through this constructor. Only one constructor is one last parameter price is remaining, so that this price is dot price equal to price, so that when three parameter constructor will get used, so that 10 is weight, then apple, then color is red, then another F2 may be dealing with price also. Price is 300. Display this, so that display we didn't display it, so that public void display system dot out dot println print like weight, name, color, price, all parameter, so that w is weight and name of fruit plus color plus price. All these parameter will get displayed through this, but if you call first this will not display price will be 0 initially. See, oh sorry, f dot display displayed 10 apple color, but last variable is default, so that in the three parameterized constructor first three values are assigned. Now we have to deal with the constructor with the four parameter, so that using this dot w name color, this parameter, this constructor will get called first, will assign three values, and then fourth values will get assigned through this line, so that use same code f2 display f2, but price is say 300. Now print. See the next line, 10 apple color 300, like this, so that very interesting. Yeah, so that this example also we have seen, so that setting the or assigning the values to the instance variable through the this dot, then fourth is to pass an argument in method. For that class test this void method test this as object, then system out println method is invoked, void p m dot this public static void main test this s1, means test this is a class, test this is s1 equal to new test this, and then you call s1 dot p, s1 dot p you call, in the s1 dot p you call the m dot this, and this will be treated as a object of current class, so that this will be treated as a current class, and in this way method will get invoked. to pass as argument in constructor call, so that class other tests this object, other tests this object dot object means we can assign the object, current object or local object to the global object using this dot object equal to object. File display system out println object dot data. Then class tests this integer data 10, test this other b equal to means object of this object other b equal to new other this b dot display. Then public static void main create a object a and call this will give the output 10. Then return to the current class instance. We can return this keyword as a statement from the method. In such a case, return type of the method must be class type non-primitive. Let us see example. Syntax of this that can be returned as a statement, return type method name and return this. For that, in this case, we can see the example of class A, then method get A have return type of class A. In this case, instance of class A should be returned, and in the place of it we return this. Then void message system out println hello Java and class test this public static void main new a dot get a dot message. In this way also we can get hello display as a output. Garbage collection in some languages such as C++, dynamically allocated objects must be manually released by the use of delete operator. Java takes a different approach. It handles deallocation for you automatically. The technique that accomplishes this is called garbage collection. It works like this: when no references to an object exists, that object is assumed to be no longer needed and the memory occupied by the object can be reclaimed. Garbage collection only occurs during the execution of your program. It will not occur simply because one or more objects exist that are no longer used. In short, we have covered rule for creating Java constructor, type of constructors, constructor overloading also we have seen, difference between constructors and method also seen, brief examples and a brief theory of this keyword also we have seen here. At the end we have seen the garbage collection. Thank you.